Welcome to the Gavel. I'm Terry Ikumi. Well, not unexpectedly, Mr. Kamoro Ogunlana, who is the clerk to the National Assembly, has issued a circular informing lawmakers of the rescheduling of resumption date of plenary activities in the National Assembly to the 7th of October. This is after 6 weeks of break. No reason was given for the rescheduling, but committee activities are to continue. Now, on Monday, the 20th of September, the House of Representatives held a public hearing, on a national one for that matter, on the alteration of the Constitution here in Abuja. At the hearing, the Speaker of the House vowed that the Green Chamber will ensure that the amendment to the 1999 Constitution is successful in this 10th Assembly after failed attempts from previous assemblies.
As Speaker, I pledge that we will take your contribution seriously and consider the bills with diligence, fairness, and urgency. We will engage the state assemblies respectfully and transparently to secure their concurrence. We will continue to work with the executive and with you, the people, to ensure that the amendment process proceeds smoothly.
Now, the Deputy Speaker, who is also the Chairman of the House Committee on Constitutional Amendments, pledged an all-inclusive process.
This is the solemn mandate of the House of Representatives Committee on Constitution Review. Since our inauguration, we have embarked on the most comprehensive, most consultative review process in Nigeria's democratic history. We have held retreats with legal scholars and technical consultants. We have convened dialogues with the judiciary, security agencies, and national women groups. We have engaged with our vibrant civil society and held zonal public hearings all through the 6 geopolitical zones of our great nation.
And then goodwill messages were received from stakeholders.
This engagement is particularly important as it resonates strongly with the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR, which seeks to enthrone good governance, inclusivity, and sustainable development. The process you are undertaking today is therefore not only about amending legal provisions, it is about giving Nigerians renewed confidence that their voices matter in shaping the future of our democracy.
As your long-standing partner and friend, the UK remains committed to supporting democratic institutions and processes that build a Nigerian nation and state that's more peaceful, prosperous, and responsive to the needs of its citizens.
We are also supporting electoral reforms. We have currently our electoral follow-up mission in town, following up on our EU observation mission during the 2023 elections, and exchanging with authorities, responding to the invitation of INEC. We are also supporting your works on judicial reforms, on local government autonomy, on institutional strengthening, and on fundamental rights.
But it's not just the special seats bill that's an issue. There are several other issues, and most of these amendments seek to secure grassroots governance, ensure timely and fair elections, expand rights and representation, strengthen accountability, and stabilize Nigeria's democratic order.
Let's get into the conversation now on the 1999 Constitutional Amendment process ongoing in the House of Representatives and the National Assembly in general. It's now being joined by Mr. Chibuzo Okereke, who is a legislative and public affairs analyst and is also the executive director of Project Hope Alive Africa. Welcome to the Gavel, Mr. Okereke.
Thank you.
It's nice to see you again. I mean, I feel like when lawmakers went on holiday, you went as well. But I know you've been doing some work in the background.
Absolutely.
You followed this constitutional amendment process. And I know that even in previous assemblies, you've followed. I'd like us to make a comparison because it would seem now that it's even now more pronounced. Is it a level of awareness or what, perhaps the approach this 10th Assembly is taking? What do you make of the process of this constitution amendment so far?
Well, I think that, first of all, the 10th House of Reps are deepening the process. They started by converting the ad hoc committee on constitutional review to now a full-fledged standing committee on constitutional review, which sort of has implication that, oh, this document is imperfect, and we are now instituting a standing committee to continue to review it, because it will not end with the 10th Assembly. But in terms of engagement, like the national public hearing they had on Monday and the zonal public hearings they have had and all that. But if you look at the whole thing, there is still a lot of elite syndrome around it. The ordinary people do not really think this thing affects them in any way, right? And this is the challenge that we have. But a lot of the proposals are really good, although some of us, like me, I don't believe that we should continue to alter the Constitution forever. We should actually sit back and look at it, because even in terms of bills or constitutional alterations, there are limit to alterations. There is a lot of agitation about what needs to be corrected, that in terms of threshold, it should be repealed. But of course, constitutions are not repealed, in a sense, but it can be changed through, people's assembly, to be able to do that. So, and the process is not just about public hearing. When you finish this whole process, the state assemblies have to give a nod to specific propositions, and then it will all go back to the president for assent. So, in the process of this engagement, are we engaging the Attorney General's office, who will definitely give advisory to the president on most of the things we are talking about? So this is why people say, oh, after all this, lot of public engagement, media hype and what have you, and the president says no. So it has to be all-inclusive, and not just all-inclusive in terms of stakeholders and the people and the legislature or state legislatures, but also the executive arm, who will give advisory on every bit of it before the president will give assent.
Are there certain proposals in this amendment process that you believe should see the light of day? There are quite a number of them. Are there specific ones that you believe should see the light of day?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I believe that we should have the Accountant General of the Federation and the Accountant General of Federal Government, Attorney General of the Federation and Attorney General of the Federal Government. Because you see, there will be conflict. We can't be running a federation where the president is appointee of the Attorney General and is also oversighting the entire federal government legal business and that of the federation. So that is already an issue. If you go to Accountant General too, it's an issue. You can see what is happening with the local government system. So the loyalty of people must be by law and rule of law. And to separate these offices is very helpful. Then the issue of local government financial autonomy. We have to reconcile section 1625 and actually and we have to agree, do we want an independent third tier or do we want an infused third tier? So it's a decision, it's a political decision we have to make as a country to say, oh, we want 3-tier of government or 1, 2-tier, and then the state should get as many local government as they want and take care of it. Because it appears today there is confusion in that section 7 of the Constitution that created the local government democratically, but gave the powers to the state legislature to legislate how it will be administered, financed, and structured. And this is why you are seeing governors make law and make even state independent electoral commission law that manage how the local government works. So I want to see those things happen, because you see, if we develop our local government, then we'll be able to develop the states. We cannot sacrifice the importance of grassroots development on the altar of politics, which is what is going on now. So what says that the local government can have their own money and spend it and be held accountable for it? So we have to choose. Do we want... So the special seat bill also It's an important legislation, although there's been a lot of confusion around it in terms of cost of governance. On one hand, people say, oh, 469 members, we are spending a lot on them, and we want 74 others added to them without actually computing the cost. I agree that we need better women representation, but we must also strike a balance. And there are many ways. The Electoral Act can be amended. The party registration process regulation can be amended. And all these new parties applying will ensure that their nomination has a percentage of women. They will have no choice. They want to be registered. They will agree to it, to be in their constitution. Those that are already registered, there will be a new regulation, and within the Electoral Act, they are mandated, because, you see, we can't live in a society where we ignore the most important part of us, which is the women. And we cannot try to solve it in a convenient, above-the-ceiling manner, because of tomorrow and because of the cost we are shouting about. So what is the level of engagement that has agreed that we need to increase? Because we are talking about 74 for only women. But the implication is almost 600 plus seats in the National Assembly. And will you deny anybody right to his or her own car in the 11th Assembly?
I think that is the idea of weighing the pros and the cons and the reason for the consistent engagement, because this is a model that has worked elsewhere and that's been introduced in Nigeria as a temporary measure. It would be reviewed, if I recall correctly, every 16 years to see the extent, based on the extent of its success. Anyways, do stay with me. Let's have another conversation on Senator Natasha Akpoti. But first, that story unfolded within the week, which I want to get your reaction to, on Tuesday to be precise. And that was the day Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's suspension was lifted and her office unlocked. But first, let's take a look at what happened on that day and hear what she had to say when she finally got into her office after 6 months.
Senator Natasha Akpoti's office, I, Alabi Adediji, Deputy Director, Sergeant at Arms, hereby unseal the office.
News of the unsealing of the office of the suspended lawmaker representing Kogi Central Senatorial District, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, was immediately met with wild jubilation by enthusiastic supporters. The crowd accompanying the lawmaker proceed from the FCT High Court, apparently making their way towards the National Assembly complex. They throng the National Assembly arcade.
This is the people's way.
However, tension rose at the entrance as many of his supporters were denied access to the main building. Eventually, a few supporters were allowed entry as the senator made her way into her office. It was by all appearances a moment of triumph for the lawmaker.
My deepest appreciation to the good people of Kogi Central, Kogi State and Nigeria at large. Senator Akpabio is not more of a senator than I am. He's not a governor of this place. And he treated me as if I was his servant or I was a domestic staff in his house. It's very unfortunate that at this time, after so many years of democracy, we would have a National Assembly be run by such dictatorship.
She reiterates that she owes no one any apology.
I'm actually worried as to what apology they expect from me. You can't apologize for an injustice. And may I remind the good people of Nigeria that the document that led to my illegal suspension, which is the recommendation which Senator Naira read, was actually written by the office of the Senate President. And the signatures that endorsed that recommendation were not willful signatures. It was only a attendance sheet that was attached. That means the entire document that read and pronounced my suspension was listed with fraud. So if they are expecting me to apologize, I'm sorry, I don't have these words. And if that is the condition for opening this office, then I think we have a long dance to make.
She had been suspended for 6 months in March 2025 following allegations of misconduct after she was accused of flouting the rules of the Senate. Her resumption is coming on the day the National Assembly postponed the resumption of plenary by 2 weeks.
Welcome back to the Gavel. Let's pick up from that report on Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's resumption. I still have Mr. Chibuzo Okereke here, who is the Legislative and Public Affairs Analyst. He is also the Executive Director of Project Hope Alive Africa. I can already hear and see you giggle. The whole situation around Senator Natasha Akpoti, many say, has given the Senate or National Assembly a bad name in general. But then I would like to get your reaction.
In the Senate proceedings, the only punishment for misconduct is suspension. It can be one legislative day, it can be a week, legislative week, it can be a session, it can be any based on resolution, in line with Order 1B of the Senate Standing Orders. Now, the only remedy for that kind of suspension is apology, because the Senate has no power to remove anybody from the Senate indefinitely. And the remedy for it is apology. And several people had in the past apologized for their misconduct. So she refused to explore Resolution 2, which in case on that 6th of March, the majority of the senators were against the inclusion of Resolution 2, and the Senate President ruled otherwise. Now, when we speak like this, people think, oh, maybe it's Akpabio. No, sir. Akpabio is not going to be the Senate President forever. He's just Senate President in this 10th Assembly, may not be in the 11th. We are concerned about the institution of the Senate. Like you can see, Order 66.8, I can read it for you, says, if a senator be suspended under the provisions of this rule, he shall be directed by the President of the Senate to withdraw. His suspension shall last until determined by the Senate.
So you also started this conversation by saying that the Senate has been cajoled into adjusting its rules. Now,
no, they didn't adjust. They were cajoled to disobey.
But the recommendation of the committee did not say initial period of 6 months. It said 6 months. The Senate voted on that for 6 months.
You see, let me tell you this. If the president, for instance, vetoed a legislation submitted to him and said maybe there is no is in clause 12. After that, there should be is. And the communication is sent to the Senate. The clerk does not say, since it's is, let me as Senate President correct it in our secretariat and return back to President. You don't do that. You'll be in breach of the rule. You read the letter of the President on the floor, indicating that there has been this, recommit the bill for consideration, delete whatever is there, add the is, and send back.
Chibuzo Okereke, I'd like to thank you very much for coming on the Gavel. We'll keep tabs on you. We also know that your office has released a barometer report for performance of the 10th Senate. We'd like to have that and talk on it. Thank you very much for coming. All right, now the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Abbas Tajuddin, is assuring Nigerians that the implementation of federal government's Naira for crude oil policy will be transparent through effective oversight by the House. He made this comment through the Minority Leader of the House, Kingsley Chinda, at the inauguration of the Ad Hoc Committee on the Implementation and Oversight of the Naira for crude oil policy, while describing it as a crucial step towards strengthening transparency and efficiency in one of Nigeria's most important energy sector initiatives.
The Naira for crude oil policy carries significant implications for Nigerians' foreign exchange stability, revenue generation, and long-term energy security. A thorough examination of its framework will enable the committee to determine whether the policy is achieving its intended objectives, identify any gaps in its implementation, and highlight areas where adjustments may be required. Such an assignment will provide the House with clear guidance in exercising its legislative oversight and in ensuring that the policy contributes meaningfully to national development.
Now, this week on Constituency Focus, we have the member representing Ogbaru Federal Constituency of Anambra State on Representative Alpha Mogene.
As somebody representing Ogbaru Federal Constituency, which is actually a riverine community, Ogbaru is made up of 15 indigenous communities, and we lie on the banks of the great river Niger. My people are predominantly farmers of yam, cassava, vegetables, and other food crops. But the major challenge that they have is poor access roads. In fact, the only major road that connects all of these 15 communities and linking up to the border with Rivers State is the Onitsha Atani or Somala Ogwibele Road. And that road was done halfway during the time of former Governor Peter Obi. Ever since, it's been a little push and shove here and there. But incidentally, oil exploration has been going on in two communities of Ogwibele and Ogwanyocha, which makes Anambra an oil-producing state. So the state right now is earning revenue from the 13% derivation. But the roads are simply not there for the people to move out. In fact, the oil company had to create pipelines and collect to the side of the delta. So they actually take this oil across the river to the delta area. So I'm calling on government to also, at the subnational level, the state level, and the federal level, to synergize and ensure that this road is done. This is one major need of my constituent. The next would be the fact that as a coastal federal constituency, this seasonal flooding, affects my community so much so that bungalows, you only see the rooftops. It's as bad as that. And so I'll also be pushing for holding centers. Each year they ask people to go upland. Upland to where? There is no provision made for people to move out of the villages and come upland. But I'm sure that if we have 3 or 4 holding centers that could take especially men, women, and children during such period, because it has almost come to stay that each year we lose about 3-4 months to flooding. So you can imagine floods that cover rooftops. So nobody would actually be staying there, and it's a hard time getting to undertake that kind of movement. So if the government provides us with holding centers, large halls, take it up, and then people from the catchment areas could easily move there while the period lasts. So basically, those are 2 major issues that confront us. The oil exploration, which also devastates our environment. And so I'm calling on the government that whatever they are doing with regards to community participation in oil production, they should factor in the various communities of Ogbaru, because they are also all negatively impacted. My plans is to always be their voice, and that I've started, because if you don't say you are here, nobody would remember to say you are at that particular point. So given my own background as a journalist, I've offered to be the voice of the people, which I've been doing, even in my first incarnation as a legislator in 2011. I was publishing community newspapers. Already I have started a radio program for them, which has employed about 5 youths.
And that's all the time we have on the Gavel. Send feedback to the Gavel at channelstv.com. I'm Terry Ikumi. Goodbye.